Okay, when I first got into running, I swore I'd never be into shoes. I just didn't think it was something that was going to interest me. A few years later, here we are, and I've got a pair of shoes that is exciting me a lot. I've never had a pair of shoes like this. They're not new by any means. They came out in 2023, I think, but they're exciting for me. Okay, here we go. Can you guess what they are yet? Look at that, the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 3. Right, let me give you a quick history lesson. Once upon a time, okay, not quite that long ago, 2014, Nike first have this idea of the Breaking 2 project, if you remember that, the thing that Eliud Kipchoge did in 2019, breaking 2 hours for the marathon, and they knew they needed some good technology for this, they needed a brand new shoe, and this is when the first ideas of what would become the Vaporfly kind of became a thing. It featured two very important parts, a carbon plate, which was still relatively new, especially in like the public domain. It was being used, I think, in track spikes and some shoes, but this wasn't a very regularly used thing like it is today. And their new Zoom X foam, which was one of the most responsive foams money could buy. So over the next few years, Nike developed their idea of the Vaporfly, and you never really saw it. It was never available apart from occasional prototypes on the shoes of some elites. And then finally in 2017, they released the Nike Vaporfly 4%. What does the 4% stand for? Well, 4% is apparently the amount of efficiency improvement you're going to see from other popular marathon shoes at the time. This was tested in the lab, and that kind of number was very, very useful for their marketing and their branding of the shoe. It was absolutely a revolutionary shoe, but it was really, really hard to get hold of. It was kind of the first one with a carbon plate and that Zoom X foam that the public could have, but it wasn't easy to get until 2019 when they released the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent, which is kind of the first Vaporfly as we properly know it. Like, that was version 1 of what is now on version 3, and that was a lot easier to get, still expensive but revolutionary, and general members of the public could get it on their feet, which is quite a big thing. It was so revolutionary, in fact, that it made World Athletics change their rules for which shoes are allowed in competitions, because they thought, this is going to get out of hand, we're going to see massive stack heights, we're going to see multiple plates, we've got to put some rules on it while we still can. So obviously since 2019 a lot of shoe development has happened. We're on the Vaporfly 3, and the Alphafly has kind of overtaken it as the world's best shoe in some ways, but it is still a fact pretty much that Nike make some of the best racing shoes. And if you go to a marathon and ask people what they're racing in, Vaporfly and Alphaflys are probably going to be top on the list. It's a bit different in 2025 now, because basically every brand has a very competitive super shoe. This shoe was kind of the one that started it all, started what is the modern day super shoe. I've got a threshold session today, which is 8 by a K, which is actually quite a daunting session in and of itself. I've never done 8K of threshold work before, so I'm going to try these out. I feel like I'm going to need every bit of help I can get. I'm not planning on being too precious with these, just because I just don't think there's any point. I spent the money on them, I might as well use them. I'm not going to keep them in the box the whole time, but this is not your everyday running shoe. Okay, let's get out there and try the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 3. Okay, warm up done. I've jogged to a loop in Exhibition Park in Newcastle, which is just over 1 kilometre long, so it's pretty perfect for this kind of session. It's not too icy. I thought it'd be icy because it's been really, really cold recently, but it's actually not, so that's good. Let's change into the shoes, do a couple of strides, and get on with the session. God, they're light, bouncy, light, punchy. I'm excited to get up some speed in this. Let's do a couple of strides and then get into the session. Okay, that was strides done in them, and yeah, I mean, what can I say? They feel so fast and so bouncy and poppy, but also protective, which is the thing that I wanted over my Takumi Sen 8s, which I didn't think were protective at all. Pretty flipping fast, I think. Anyway, don't need to go fast today, just a threshold session, 8 by a K. I'm kind of almost a bit nervous for this. I think I can do it. It's just the mental kind of getting through 8 by K. It's quite a long session. Hopefully averaging around 6 minutes a mile, which is like 3:43 for each K, or 3:45 would be fine. Anything around that kind of area, see how I feel, and hopefully the good old Vaporflies will help me out a bit. Let's get going. 3, 2, 1, off we go. Rep 1 down, and I feel like these shoes just want me to go faster. Gotta keep it controlled. Here we go again. Right, that's 4. Finding it almost a little bit tough. I just think the legs are really tired, to be honest. Halfway through, gonna basically take them one at a time now. Absolute minimum of 6, maximum of 8. Rep number 5. Okay, you know you want them. Let's talk about the stats of this shoe. So first of all, obviously it's a race day shoe or a session day shoe, and it's suited for 5Ks, 10Ks, and half marathons. You can run marathons in them, a lot of people have, but mainly it's that 5K, 10K half marathon distance that you're going to be doing with this shoe. So it's obviously got a carbon plate that runs full length from the toe to the heel. You can actually see it through the bottom, although mine's actually a bit muddy, but it is in there, and you can even see it poking out the side here. Full length, fully carbon plate. It's got Zoom X foam in the bottom, which is Nike's best, most responsive foam. It's a P-Bax blend, if that means anything to you, but basically it's super speedy, super responsive. It is a pretty high shoe as well. It's got stack height of 40 millimeters in the back, down to 32 in the front for a drop of 8 millimeters. That probably adds to its aggressive feeling. Kind of feels, some people have said it feels like you're running downhill when you're running in it. That might be why, because it's got quite a big drop, but that means it's got a big wedge of foam in the back. It's going to keep your legs protected, which is a really good selling point, at least for someone like me. I like a decent amount of protection, and that is why I upgraded to this from like my Takumi Sen. And of course it is a very lightweight shoe. It comes in at 200 grams for a men's size 9, obviously a bit heavier if you're a bit bigger. This is a size 11, so a little bit heavier, but to be honest, it's so light. It has quite a wide toe box at the front here, which leaves you a lot of room to spread out your toes, which is quite nice. However, it goes very narrow in the arch. You can see through the bottom here, this bit is super narrow, so if you've got wide feet it might not be brilliant for you, but you can really open up in the forefoot, which I think is a positive. Nike shoes are known for being quite narrow and quite sleek, so that's one thing to think about if you're thinking about buying it. From the Vaporfly 2, not only has it got a bigger toe box, but it's also had an increased stack by 1 millimeter. Are you going to notice that? Probably not really, and 1 millimeter might even just be how they've changed measuring these things. Like, it's always a little bit different about where they take their measurements from. Different brands take from inside, outside, including the outsole, whatever. You won't really notice that as a difference. A lot of people run their longer stuff in this because it's got that max stack height. That 40 mil at the back is going to keep your legs protected, and that is one of my likes that we'll get onto. So let's finish off this threshold session and I'll come back with some of my opinions. That's 6 done. I can definitely do 2 more. Might be going a touch above threshold, but I don't really mind because I kind of want a baseline for this session that I can do again in a month or 2 and see how much I've progressed. So, and it hasn't got any harder since about 3 or 4, I'd say. Just 2 more and then we're done. 1 more to go. Come on. Really solid winter session, bang. I'll get this last one done. And we're done. Oh, yeah, probably shouldn't have worked quite that hard for a threshold session, but heart rate didn't go too high, so that's fine, I think. Wow, what a shoe that is. That definitely helped me along. It was interesting, I could tell my legs were tired. By the 3rd and 4th rep, I was already like, they just felt like they lacked a bit of power. I feel like they didn't really get any more tired than that for the rest of the session, and that's got to be a bit down to the shoes. Right, let's go home. I'll look at the session and tell you more about the shoes. There we go, that's the session done. If you want a bit more of an insight into it, you can see some of the stats here. Everything was, I think, from 341 or 342 per K to 346, 347. Absolutely perfect. Couldn't have asked for anything more. Good session, worked decently hard, but I'm looking forward to replicating that in a couple of months' time and seeing how much my fitness has improved. Let's get on to some likes and dislikes about this shoe. First of all, it has blown me away, but I was kind of expecting that, so that's besides the point. What I really like is you know what you're getting with this shoe. It's got that big brand, that big name behind it, the Vaporfly iconic shoe, and it delivers on that front. It's not disappointing at all. I've heard some mixed reviews about it, how it works for different people, but in general, you know what you're getting and it gets the job done really well, which I think is valuable in this time of every brand has their own super shoe that is competitive, because really there's a lot of choice. It used to be that this was the only one with the carbon plate in it and that really good foam. It was the one to buy. Everyone had it on the start lines of all their races, whereas now there are so many options and it's all a lot of money. You really have to think about making your decision, but I feel like the Vaporfly is always going to be a safe bet. At least that's what I've found. I got it, had only tried it on once very briefly, and it has not disappointed at all. The big thing that I like about it, and this is over the Takumi Sen 8, which if you saw my shoe rotation video a while ago, I said that I wanted to replace for this reason. This really feels protective. It feels just that bit softer, yet while still kind of maintaining that snappy, poppy, responsive feeling. Because you want your racing shoe to feel fast, that's for sure, but I like something that I can train in and race in and my legs don't feel like they're getting hurt from it, because I think there's a big part of a racing shoe that you want to feel good in it as well as actually get good times in it. And I think this does a really good job of that because of that extra protection at the back and really at the front. It's got a lot of lovely cushioning under it. And when I've used this, I haven't had any like DOMs the next day. Running in carbon can sometimes affect the calves. I haven't had any problems with that at all. So I think it's a very protective shoe, while still being lovely and snappy and fast and everything you'd want from a super shoe. And kind of by extension of that, and this is a weird but here we go, it's the aura around it. And hear me out here, because it is such an iconic shoe, you know you're going to be fast in it. You're wearing a Vaporfly. It's not like you get that mental boost, which I think is really important when it comes to racing. You need to feel good in the shoe that you're wearing as well. And that's what I get from the Vaporfly, I think. And that is a weird point, but you'll have heard all of the normal likes and dislikes in 1,000 other videos. So that's a like that I have, is you feel fast in it, partly because of the technical specs of the shoe, but also because of how you feel when you put on the shoe. Few more slightly boring likes. It's got a good grip. I heard, again, a few mixed things about the grip, but as super shoes go, I think the grip is pretty good. I'm used to, in my faster shoes, I've had kind of Adidas shoes a lot, so they obviously have brilliant grip with their Continental rubber, but I did a park run in this a couple of days ago in very wet, slightly muddy conditions, as you can see by the state of the shoe, and I had no problems with the grip. Obviously it's not trail shoe-esque, it's never going to be, works better in dry and on tarmac, but as the grip goes, this front bit was really good. I'm not a heel striker, and obviously there's a lot less padding on the back here, so that might affect A, the grip, and B, the durability of it. But as someone who lands like predominantly here, I found that was really good, and I think it'll last a decently long time. It's got a really nice snug fit. Now I was actually a bit concerned when I first tried it on. This bit here, the arch, is so high and so prominent that I thought, oh, that could be a problem over the longer races. But actually, I've done that 5-mile session in it, I've done a 4-mile session in it on the track, did the park run, I haven't had a problem with that at all. I've got quite narrow, relatively normal feet, so I found that was not a problem at all, and it's a nice wide toe box. I thought the fit was really comfortable and snug. This little heel counter here is really useful for keeping your ankle in place as well, because it is quite wide. It tends to kind of do that a little bit when you run, but I've had no problems, didn't have to use a runner's knot, laced up normally, felt snug, tight and secure. Some dislikes. okay, from a general perspective, I'm going to go back to that high arch, because if you have wide feet, you're gonna really struggle with this, I think, because it is such a prominent arch. Or if your feet are a bit flatter, that is something you need to think about. It is so narrow in this midfoot section. That's not a problem for me, so I can't really even say that it's a dislike, because it was not as dramatic as I first thought it was. The other thing that's a bit weird is this tongue. I just find like the way it flares out at the side, that's a massive sized tongue there. And like getting that in the right position can sometimes be a bit weird, but again, it feels a lot worse when you first put them on than as soon as you get running, you don't notice it. But I'd just say, make sure you put the laces over this black bit or whatever colour this bit is, rather than like under. They kind of sit quite nicely underneath, but I think keep them on that and you're good to go. And to be honest, is this a bad review? Because I don't have really any more dislikes yet. I feel like that's being a bit biased maybe, but it's a great shoe. I knew what I was getting. I knew that it was going to be good, and it's delivered on all of those parts. So that might be it for the dislikes. In summary, it's a flipping fast shoe. You know what it does, you get it, and funnily enough, it does that exact job. This might be a really boring video because you've probably seen loads of other people just get this shoe and think, wow, it's amazing. I'm glad I've got this because I feel like the Vaporfly, the Nike super shoes are kind of the baseline. Everyone compares the newer shoes from other brands to the Nike ones because they've been around for just that bit longer. So if I get another super shoe in the future, hopefully I'll be able to compare it to this one. But for now, I'm having a lot of fun running in this, and some fast times will be running this for sure. Thank you very much for watching. I love doing shoe reviews like this. You can check out a whole playlist of them up in this corner here, where I go through all the shoes that I've got. Pretty much every shoe I get, I review because I'm one of those people that likes watching these shoe reviews. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.